All right, counsel?
Thank you, Your Honor. We were looking at Exhibit 811, which I think you still have in front of you.
Yes.
All right, and are those accurate copies?
Oh, microphone, please.
We were looking initially at 811. Those are the 4 documents that are stapled together. And you've already testified as to what they were.
Yes.
And when they were signed. Are those accurate duplicates of the documents signed that evening by you and your 3 children?
Yes.
And, Your Honor, I would move to introduce 811 into evidence.
No objection.
It's admitted.
Now, prior to your signing it or even subsequent to your signing it, was there any subsequent conversation with Vinny or anybody else about money that would be received?
No.
Did you discuss with an attorney anything about money?
No.
Did they offer you money?
No.
Did you ask for money?
No.
And I think that you had already said that that was not part of the conversation that you had with Vicky Podboreski.
Exactly.
And did they offer you any other legal assistance, anybody else to talk?
Object to the word they as vague.
I'll withdraw the question. Did Vinny tell you about any other lawyers who might be available for you to discuss, to talk about this release?
No.
Was there ever any representation by them that they would pay you or your children for your participation in this video?
No.
Objection to the word them as vague.
I'll withdraw the question. Was there ever any representation by Vinny that you would be paid for your participation in this video?
No.
Did you ever request of Vinny that you be paid for your participation in the video?
No.
Did you ever have a discussion about being paid for this video with any employee of Michael Jackson?
No.
Did you ever talk with Michael Jackson about it?
No.
Did you expect to be compensated for it?
No.
Did you have a conversation prior to doing this video with Jay Jackson about whether or not you should be compensated for this video?
No.
Did Jay Jackson have a conversation with you where he reviewed the content of a conversation he had with Frank?
No.
Were you aware that he had had a conversation with Frank about this video?
No.
Now, I'd like you to look at the other document that's right in front of you. It's number 812. Have you seen that document before?
I've seen it per your investigation and over there at Neverland.
Okay. When was the first time you saw that document?
I think the best I remember was in Neverland.
And do you know who it was that showed that document to you?
It was Frank and Vinny.
Was that before the video was done?
No.
It was after the video was done?
Yes.
Did somebody hand that to you and ask you to sign it?
Yeah.
All right. Who was that who handed it to you?
By this time my signing days were over.
Tell us when that was, approximately.
That was in Neverland after the Chris Carter thing.
Okay. Now, the person. I'm sorry. Who was it again who handed that to you?
Frank and Vinny.
Were they both together at the time?
Sometimes together.
But on the first occasion that you saw this document?
Frank.
It was Frank? Did you see that document on more than one occasion?
Wait. Best I remember. It could have been Vinny. Vinny or Frank. I don't know.
Take a moment. Take a moment.
I think. The best I can remember, I think. Yeah. The best I can remember was Vinny, then Frank, then both. That's the best I can remember.
Let's start with Vinny, whether he was first or second. Do you remember what Vinny specifically said to you about that document?
Sign here.
Did he explain what it was?
No.
Did he explain what it was for?
No.
Did he give you any detail at all about that document or why he wanted you to sign it?
No.
How about Frank? When he talked to you individually, what did he say about that document?
Nothing. Just, sign it.
Do you remember when this was relative to the video that you had already done?
After.
Do you know approximately how long after?
No, I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Okay. Did Frank give you any direction as to why he wanted you to sign that document?
No.
And when the two of them were together and spoke to you about that document, did either one of them, in the course of that conversation, say anything to you about why they wanted you to sign it?
No.
Alright. Now, the document that you have in front of you
Yes.
has your name pre-printed, is that correct?
Ah.
At the bottom of the page?
Oh, I see. Yeah. At the bottom.
And was that how it was at the time that they had handed it to you?
Yes.
Did you, in fact, refuse to sign that document?
Yes.
You never did?
Ha.
In the course of your
I got in trouble for that.
discussions with either Vinny or Frank about your signing or not signing that document, did you make a demand for money?
No.
Did you ever ask them for money?
No.
Did you tell them why you didn't want to sign the document?
Because my signing days were over. That's it.
What does that mean?
They had me sign a bunch of different things.
Were there?
Over the course of from Miami to this. I'm talking in total. And that's it. You know, let me go. Let my kids go. That's all I wanted.
Alright. Ultimately you did not sign that document?
No.
Did you see if there were similar copies of that document but with the names of your children?
Yes. Yes.
Did they show them to your children at all?
They may have. They may have. Because they had a period of time when they were alone with the children.
Do you know from personal knowledge? In other words, did your children ever sign those documents in your presence?
In my presence, never.
Alright. Do you have any information, one way or the other, as to whether or not they ultimately signed that release on 812?
I don't know about this release.
Okay. Is that, in fact, an accurate copy of the release that was shown to you at Neverland?
Yes.
Were you shown that release on more than one occasion?
Yes.
On how many separate occasions were you shown that release?
I wouldn't be able to tell you, Mr. Zonen.
Can you give us a sense of it?
No.
Okay. More than once?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would move to introduce 812 into evidence at this time.
No objection.
It's admitted.
Just one moment, Your Honor, please. Off-the-record discussion held at counsel table. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Miss Arvizo, I'm showing you number 814 for identification. Number 814 for identification. I'd like you to take a look at this, please. Take a moment and look at it.
Uh-huh, okay.
Is that a document you've seen before?
Yes.
Where did you see that before?
I think I seen this in Neverland.
Okay. Is that your handwriting?
No.
Do you know whose handwriting it is?
This is Vinny's.
Was that drafted in your presence?
I don't think so.
Turn the document over, if you would.
Oh, my God.
Excuse me. Tell us what that is on the other side of the document.
It's the same one.
In other words, it's
Your microphone, sir.
okay. We're back on. I've now asked you to turn this document over on the other side.
Yeah.
And what is it on the other side?
It's the same one.
It's the copy of exhibit number what?
Yes.
I'm sorry, exhibit number what? Tell us what exhibit that is. I think it's 812. No?
Yes, 812.
So the back side of the one that I just showed you which has Vinny's handwriting.
Yes.
Is, in fact, a copy of 812?
Yes.
Is it the one that has your name pre-printed or one of the kids?
It's mine, pre-printed.
Did Vinny ever show you that document, the written one?
I can't remember.
Do you have a recollection of having seen it at some point in time?
Yes, I think so. At Neverland.
Did you ever sign a handwritten document?
A handwritten document?
Yes.
No.
Is your signature on that document?
No, it isn't.
But your name is on it?
But my name is on it.
Does that appear to be some form of a model release?
It says, this model release.
Was there ever a discussion between you and Vinny or you and Frank about coming up with some kind of a release that was suitable for you?
No.
The release that you're holding in your hand right now, the printed form on the back of that page, That was presented to you before or after you did the video rebuttal?
After.
You can go ahead and put those down.
Okay.
Miss Arvizo, 812 that I showed you initially, the one that does not have something on the back.
Okay.
Is that, in fact, an accurate copy of the release that was given to you by both Vinny and Frank?
Yes.
I'd move, is 812 in evidence already?
Yes.
It is in evidence. Okay. Never mind. Tom, do you want to stipulate to this coming in?
No.
Then I'll lay the foundation. Excuse me. After the social workers left and your kids went back to Neverland, where did you go on that day?
Well, that began the process of getting the passports and visas. The first step was getting the birth certificates.
All right. And did you, in fact, get birth certificates that day?
On that day was the application. And when I arrived there, I had to write a little kind of paragraph stating that it was an emergency, that I had to get out. Something about out of the country. I don't recall, but they wanted it fast enough.
Did they say, who is they?
Michael's people.
Well, somebody in particular had you write something?
Vinny. And Frank over the phone. Frank never left our side, whether he was on the phone or in person.
Vinny asked you to write something that stated it was an emergency?
Yes.
Did he tell you what that was for?
Well, that's what. The information that he had got, because he had asked the birth certificate people that he needed it immediately. And they had told him, no, the only way we can do it, if there's an emergency. And so he had told me that to write it's an emergency.
Who was it who told you, you're going to Brazil now?
Frank, Vinny.
What did you tell them in response to whether or not you wanted to go to Brazil?
They knew I didn't want to go.
Did you tell them that?
Yes, I did.
Tell us why you didn't want to go.
I didn't want to go because first and main reason, is Gavin's doctor is here. He has to see an oncologist and a nephrologist. He depends on those doctors, first. And second, I waited a lifetime to find someone I could give a Valentine to, and that was Jay.
You didn't want to leave that relationship?
No, I didn't.
Did you tell this to either Vinny or Frank?
Yes.
What did they say?
Well, the part about no going to Brazil. Not the part about Jay.
Did you talk to either Vinny or Frank about medical issues?
Yes. I told him I couldn't, I'm trying to negotiate for mine and my children's freedom. By saying, sorry, I can't go, The doctors are here. And nope, still got to go.
Okay. Why did you ultimately agree to go? I mean, why not just say, I'm not going?
Because of my parents' life, and Jay's life.
What does that mean, your parents' life, and Jay's life?
Well.
What did that have to do with going to Brazil?
That they were going to be killed.
Who told you that?
Frank. Frank became the worst out of all of them.
Did you have any additional conversations with either Dieter or Ronald?
No, the Germans are out of the picture. They're no longer in the picture. Slowly, there was a transition period where Ronald and Dieter were replaced by Frank and Vinny. Frank and Vinny took the spots of Ronald and Dieter. The Germans are out of the picture now.
Did you tell them that you were going to go to Brazil?
No.
Did you start doing things toward going to Brazil?
Yes.
All right. And you started to mention something about birth certificates.
Yes.
Okay. Now, on this, was it the same day as the interview that you had with the department? With the social workers that you went and started gathering up materials?
Yes. Same day.
What materials did you gather?
The only thing was the birth certificate application. They assumed that we were going to get the application on the spot, and so.
Counsel? Off-the-record discussion held at counsel table. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Did you want these separate from the notebooks at the time we introduced them?
I'm sorry?
I think I've made the decision already. I'll withdraw that question. I'm going to show you 3 items that are part of one exhibit. We will ultimately staple it together. At the moment it's 3 separate pages. And this exhibit number is number 259. I'd like you to look at the 3 different pages. Do you know what this is?
Yes, this is an application for the birth certificate.
Alright, and have you seen these documents before?
Yeah, this is on. When we did the application thing, when we had a paper.
At the time you actually got the applications?
Yes, yes.
And who were you with when you got those applications?
Vinny, and the people that were following us. I always had a crew following us.
There were others in a separate car?
Yes.
Do you know who was in the separate car?
No, I never knew. And that was the scary part. Vinny would always point them out to me.
Go ahead and look at this document now, which is number 259.
Yes.
And are those, in fact, applications for each of you?
Yes.
Alright, whose signature is on those applications?
There's no signature. Just printed.
It's just printed out?
Yes.
Is any of that your handwriting?
Yes, it's all my writing.
And then each of the names are on here, is that correct?
Yes.
And each of the children's names are on here?
Yes.
Are those, in fact, accurate copies of those applications for birth certificates?
I feel they are.
Do you remember where it was they were deposited?
In Norwalk. It's by the 605 freeway.
Okay. Now, the third document in here titled, the Registrar Recorder.
Yes.
Does have a signature on it, does it not?
Yes.
And whose signature is that?
That's mine. This is that emergency thing.
Alright. And that you recall signing?
Yes. Yes.
And the date on it is what, now?
The date on it is February 20th, the day of the CPS meeting. Afterwards.
I would move to introduce into evidence item number 259.
No objection.
It's admitted.
May I approach through here, Your Honor?
Yes.
If you would staple them together as one exhibit.
When you previously marked that exhibit, you meant it to have 3 pages when you prepared your notebook.
Yes. Miss Arvizo, I'm going to show you now exhibit number 260. Number 260. 11 pages, separate. We will staple them together as one exhibit. Number 260. I'd like you to turn through the pages of that exhibit, please. And when you've gone through each of the pages, let us know.
Read them?
You don't need to read it in its entirety.
Oh, okay.
Just gain familiarity with them.
Okay.
Have you seen these documents before?
Yes.
Alright, I'm going to separate them now and I'm going to show you 4 specific pages on here of the documents.
Okay.
Take a look at those 4 pages. Tell me what they are.
It says up here, application for U.S. passport.
Alright, are these, in fact, 4 pages of applications for a passport for you and your children?
Yes. This isn't my writing.
Alright, that's my next question. Let's begin with, and perhaps what we can do is we can number these. This exhibit is 260. We're going to number these 4 pages specifically 260A, B, C and D, and if I can have 4 tags for that. Well, let's do it as separate tags. 260A, B, C and D, and then we'll distinguish them that way. Let's start with the.
Do you realize that exhibit is already admitted in its entirety?
Would you prefer to distinguish these 4 pages from the other? Oh, it's already in evidence?
It's in evidence in its entirety.
Can we just label it with a pen, then, those 4 pages on the outside of the vinyl cover, A, B, C and D? Can we do that?
All right. They have numbers within them, don't they? 821 and 822?
Do they?
They do in the book you gave me. That's in the bottom in the right-hand corner.
Yes, they do.
Could you just reference those numbers?
I sure can.
All right.
I sure can. Let me just have a moment to make sure I have the right numbers. Off-the-record discussion held at council table. Your Honor, the numbers that I'm looking at in the lower right-hand corner. Mine are in red, is that what you have in your notebook?
They're not in red, but.
Are those numbers Q1, Q2, Q3 and Q4?
No.
Okay. That's my concern.
Go ahead the way you were going to do it. That's fine.
Let's do it the way. We're just going to take 1, 2, 3 and 4 documents. And let's start with the first one, and write, on the vinyl on the lower left hand. Just write, A, the letter, A. And this one is whose application, please?
This one is mine.
Alright. Is your signature on it?
Yes, my signature is on it.
Is the content of the application your handwriting or your printing?
No, it isn't.
Do you know who filled this out?
Vinny did.
Did he fill it out in your presence?
No, he told me he did.
And where was it that he had you sign it? Where were you? Not on the document. Where are you at the time he had you sign it?
I think it was when I was in the motel.
And in this particular one, no. A. Does this application have on it a destination?
Yes, it does.
What is that destination?
The destination says, countries to be visited, Italy, France.
Did anybody talk to you about going to Italy or France?
No.
Did you notice that at the time that you signed that application?
No.
That it said, Italy, or, France?
No.
Was there any discussion about going to someplace other than Brazil at the time that you signed that document?
No. Only Brazil at that time.
Alright. Now, let's go to the next one and mark A, B, on the second one in the lower hand, on top of the vinyl. And whose picture is that, please?
That's my daughter Davellin.
On the first one, A, is your picture as well, is it not?
Yes, it is.
Do you know where those pictures were taken?
Yes. I don't know. I think I remember it's a Walgreens. I think. I may be off. My best estimate is a Walgreens.
They took you there?
Yes, Vinny.
Vinny took you there?
Yes.
Was that a Walgreens someplace near Neverland or someplace in Los Angeles?
Here. No, somewhere right here in Neverland. Here in Neverland, I think.
Here in Santa Barbara County?
Yes, that's the best that I can remember.
Again, the handwriting on this one, or the printing on this one, is that your daughter's printing.
No, it isn't.
Is there a signature on there?
Yes, it is.
And whose signature is that?
I don't know if it's my daughter's signature. I don't know.
Were you present at a time that was handed to your daughter?
Yes.
Does that appear to be your daughter's signature?
I wouldn't be able to tell you that.
Okay. What's the destination on that particular application?
This one says, Italy, France.
Alright. Move to the next one. And let's mark that one, C. Whose picture is that, please?
That's my son Gavin.
Alright. And the application handwriting is whose?
Vinny.
Is there a signature on that?
No, there isn't, of his.
So is there a signature at all?
That's mine.
Okay. And where it says on there, Gavin Anton Arvizo.
That's printing.
It's printed?
Yes.
That's your signature?
Yes.
Gavin's signature is nowhere on there?
No, it isn't.
Did you sign that at the time you signed the other one?
Yes.
The destination on that is what again, please?
Italy, France.
Move to the next one, please. And this would be D. Who is that?
That's Star.
The handwriting on that is whose, please?
The handwriting is my name.
The handwriting is your name?
Yes.
Alright. And the signature on that is whose?
It is mine.
Alright. Did Star sign that at all?
No.
And the destination of that is what?
Italy, France.
If you haven't already labeled that as D, please go ahead and do that, lower left. Your Honor, as to the collection of these documents, which I would ask to be bound together and admitted as number 260, I believe already in evidence. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Are any of these subsections, A, B, C or D, not yet in evidence?
No, the whole package is in.
The whole package is in, all right. May I approach through here?
Yes.
Item number 261, currently in evidence, I believe.
Correct.
Is a collection of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different pages. I'd like you to take a moment and just look through them to gain familiarity with each of them. Have you seen any of these documents before?
Yes.
I would like to show you specifically a couple pages in here. Let's go ahead and mark each of these A through, on the vinyl as we did before, so we can distinguish one page from the other. Just mark A on the first page here, and then we're going to skip through it.
Okay.
The second page we'll mark B. Put it right there, if you can. What is this? No. B, please?
It says, Visa application form.
Alright. And is your picture on that?
Yes.
Is there handwriting on that application or printing?
Printing.
Is that your printing?
No.
Did you not fill that out?
No.
Is there a signature on there anywhere? Is that your signature?
No, it isn't my signature.
Do you know whose signature it is?
It's Vinny's.
Is the signature in Vinny's name or is it in your name?
His name.
But nowhere on there is your signature?
No.
Okay. Now, the photograph that's on there is, in fact, your photograph. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Do you remember where that photograph was taken?
No, I don't.
Does it list the names of your parents?
Yes, it does.
And are their names accurately listed on there?
Yes, they are.
First, middle and last name as to both your parents?
That's correct.
Did you ever see this document prior to the grand jury?
This one?
Yes.
I don't remember that.
I mean, did you see it? Did Vinny ever show you that document?
Oh, no. Vinny never showed me this.
Were you aware at the time that there was an application process underway for visas to go to Brazil?
Yes.
He had told you that?
Yes.
Did he tell you anything about the applications that would go with it?
No, I was aware where Brazil was in the future.
Let's mark this next page 261C. Do you know what that document is?
It says something, itinerary.
For flights.
Yes.
Is your name on that document?
Yes.
Where is your name?
It says, Miss Janet Arvizo, and it has a...
Go ahead.
The address is 111,520 Trent. I guess it's CT.
Court?
Trent, 111,520 Trent Court, Calabasas, California, 93102.
Have you ever lived at such an address?
I never lived in such an address.
Do you know whose address that is?
No, I don't.
Did you know the address for Hamid?
I think it was somewhere. I heard something like San Fernando Valley.
Alright. Did anybody ever mention that particular address in your presence?
Never.
Did anybody tell you that there was a flight itinerary to Brazil in effect?
No, not something like this.
Is there a date on that in terms of the flight out?
Yeah.
Can you read it?
Yes. It says up here, date, February 25, 2003.
Alright. The last one was 261C. We're now going to 261D, if you'd write that in smaller print right there.
D.
261D.
Oh, 261D.
Tell us what we're looking at there.
We're looking at my son Star.
Alright. That's his photograph?
Yes.
Taken at the same time and place as yours?
I figure so.
The handwriting on that application is yours? The printing, rather?
The print, it's not mine. It's Vinny's.
The signature at the bottom left?
Vinny's.
It's in his name? His signature, his name?
Yes.
Alright. That one is D. Let's make this one 261E. Tell us what that is.
This is my son Gavin.
Is that the same application for a visa?
Yes, it is.
It appears to be the same as the other two you've discussed so far?
Yes.
Again, the same handwriting?
It's printing.
I'm sorry?
Printing, the same printing. Printing.
And the signature on the lower left?
It is Vinny's.
Alright. That photograph of Gavin is the photograph that was taken at the same time as yours?
I figure so.
Do you recall that?
I don't remember. This set of pictures, I thought it was.
Do you remember any other occasion that pictures were taken of you or your children for purposes of some official document?
No, I don't remember the order.
So this would be F, 261F. If you could write that perhaps right here in small print.
Okay.
Tell me what we're looking at now.
We're looking at my son Gavin's birth certificate.
Alright, 261G. And what is that document?
This is mine and my children's child custody. I don't know exactly what the title, but may I read this?
Read the title.
Yes, sir. It says, Child Custody and Visitation Order Attachment.
Alright, tell us what that is, to your understanding. What do you believe that document is?
Okay, to my understanding, this is something to do with the restraining order.
Was there any discussion with either Vinny or Frank about having to have a legal document?
Yes.
And that attested to your custody of your children?
Yes.
Do you believe that that's what that document is?
Yes, it is.
Who is it who asked you to get that?
Vinny and Frank.
Did they explain to you why you needed such a thing?
For the processing of the passports.
Do you know where you got that document?
I don't remember whether I had. No, I did. I think yeah, because I always carried one with me all the time, the restraining order.
Do you think that came from your collection of materials from your restraining order?
Yes. But you asked me from where, so I don't know exactly where, but I always made it a point to have it with me.
Why did you carry a copy of the restraining order?
Because if...
Let me finish the question. Why did you carry a copy of the restraining order with you at all times?
Because of David.
Okay. That's 261G you're looking at. That's the custody order. 261H would be who, or what?
Oh, this is a birth certificate for my son Star.
That's 261H.
H?
Yes. 261I is the next one. And what is that?
This one is a visa application form, and my daughter is on it.
This is for Davellin?
This is for Davellin.
Alright. The printing on that form is whose printing?
This is Vinny's.
Alright. The signature on the bottom is whose?
Vinny's.
The photograph in the document is whose?
It is Davellin, my daughter.
And the photograph was current for that time, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
That was a photograph of her at about that age?
Yes.
J, which would be 261J.
Okay.
Tell me what that is.
This is a birth certificate for my daughter Davellin.
Your Honor, I'm not certain that 261 is in its entirety or if at all. If not, I would move to introduce into evidence at this time 261.
261 is in evidence.
It's in evidence. On the 20th and the 21st, do you remember where you stayed the night of the 20th? In other words, after you were with Vinny gathering up the birth certificates?
For most of the part on the 20th, I stood in Jay's apartment by myself.
And then that night, did you spend the night in Jay's apartment?
That's what I'm talking about.
Your children were where?
They were already in Neverland.
The next day, did you meet up with Vinny again?
Yes.
Do you recall where you went on that next day, the 21st?
The next day, the best I can remember is Mark Shaffel's house, and he and Vinny picked up the passport applications from his house. That's the best I can remember.
Could I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm going to show you number 806. This is in a clear evidence bag which has a separate number of 1732. The court exhibit for identification, number 806, pulling out the content.
And I'm being followed this whole entire time.
That's okay. Thank you. Inside this exhibit are 5 pieces of paper. Would you take a look at those, please? Are those, in fact, duplicate copies of birth certificates?
Yes.
Of you and your children?
Yes. Those are originals.
And the cover letter affidavit to amend record?
Yes.
County of Los Angeles?
Yes.
And I'm handing you 4 items now. Take a look at those.
Finally.
Well, just look at them one at a time and tell us what they are.
These are.
Go ahead and look at all 4 first. What are they?
They're my passports.
Now, had you ever seen those documents before today, those passports?
No.
Alright. Is this what you understood to be the passports that they applied for at the time?
Yes. I had seen them when Vinny was holding on to them.
At some point in time.
In Neverland.
Let's go ahead and put these separate. I don't know if 806 is not in evidence. I would move 806 into evidence at this time.
No objection.
It's admitted.
These are the ones that Bill wrote for that I wanted.
Bill, is Bill Dickerman?
That's right.
You just looked at those 4 passports. And those 4 passports are of you and your children, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, did you mention that you had seen them at some time previous?
Yes.
When was that you saw them?
In Neverland.
And do you remember when at Neverland it was?
Yes. Afterwards.
And in whose possession were those passports?
Vinny.
How is it that you happened to see them in Vinny's possession?
Because he was rummaging through his I don't know what. I don't know. It kind of looks like a suitcase, but it's not a suitcase. It's a bag that you open up like this, and he was rummaging through the things. And that's where I seen my passports. And I told him, could I have them? And he said, no.
How did you know that they were your passports?
Because he was rummaging through all these things, and then I happened to see them, and I said, is that my passports? And he said, yes.
Okay. Did you see more than just the cover of them?
No, just the cover.
But you asked him if they were yours?
Yes.
And he said?
He said, yes.
Did you ask to have them?
Yes.
And what did he say?
He said, no.
Did he say why he wasn't giving them to you?
No, he just said, no.
Now, at some later time, you retained an attorney by the name of Bill Dickerman?
Yes, I did.
Alright. And did he request, by way of letter that was shown to you, to have these passports returned?
Yes, he did.
Were they, in fact, ever returned to you?
No, they were never returned to me.
Prior to today?
Prior to today.
Have you ever seen them?
I haven't seen them.
Where did you stay after you left on the 21st? Where did you go after the 21st of February? Do you recall?
Neverland. After Mark Shaffel's application, I went to Neverland.
Let me ask you about Mark Shaffel. Who is Mark Shaffel? Who do you understand Mark Shaffel to be?
I know now per the investigation, it's different.
Objection.
Hold on. At the time, did you know the name, Mark Shaffel?
No, I didn't. But I had spoken to a Mark when the Germans were there.
Alright.
Mark.
In person?
Mark Shaffel.
Alright. In person or over the telephone?
Over the telephone.
Did this person identify himself to you?
Yes. He said he was Mark Shaffel.
He said he was Mark Shaffel?
Yeah, and then that's the one that I told about the audio you can hear. And I said he was very unkind, because he was saying I had to do the video, and I thought he was one of the Germans.
This was a person you spoke to prior to doing the rebuttal video?
Yes.
And he was talking to you about the video?
No, he said I had to do the video. And this is before Jesus.
Alright. Now, at some point on the 21st you were taken to a home?
Yes.
Did somebody tell you that was Mark Shaffel's home?
Yes, Vinny did.
Did you meet Mark Shaffel?
No, I didn't.
To this day, have you ever seen a picture of him?
To this day I've never met him.
Alright. What were you doing at Mark Shaffel's house?
Picking up the applications for passports.
Were you with your kids or by yourself?
No, I was by myself.
With Vinny?
With Vinny and the people that would.
You're saying there was another car of people?
There was always someone following us.
Did you know who those people were?
I didn't know at the time.
Could you tell how many people were in that car?
Yes, sometimes there was 2. And sometimes there was 3. And sometimes there was 1.
Did you recognize any of them at any time?
No.
You already knew Asaf's appearance.
Yes.
Did you know if Asaf was ever one of them?
No, I just happened to see Asaf one other time, and I think so. That was during that Calabasas period.
All right. Where did you go on the 21st? Where did you stay after that?
On the 21st, I stood at Neverland.
And for how long were you at Neverland?
Until the 25th.
And on the 25th, you went where?
To the hotel. I don't know if it's hotel, motel, in Calabasas.
All right. Do you remember the name of it?
I think it's Country Inn and Suites.
In Calabasas?
Yes.
All right. Let me go back to that period of time from the 21st to the 25th that you were at Neverland. Where did you stay during that time?
In the guest house.
And were your children there as well?
Yes.
Where did Davellin stay?
In the guest house next to me.
Not your unit?
And I don't mean to say, guest house. It's actually one building divided into 4, and they're actually just bedrooms.
4 separate units in a building?
4 separate units?
Yes. And you had one of the units?
Yes.
And Davellin had another?
Yes.
Where were the boys?
The boys were in the house.
And that's Gavin and Star you're referring to?
Yes, yes.
They were staying in the house?
Yes.
Did they stay in the house the entire time?
Yes.
Do you know if Michael Jackson was there during that period of time?
At that time, I don't know.
Do you have a recollection of seeing him during that time?
At that time, I don't remember.
Were you seeing your sons throughout that period?
No.
The 21st through the 25th?
No.
Where were you during the day?
In the guest house.
Did you ever leave?
Not really.
Where did you take your meals?
In there.
In the guest house?
Yes, I did.
Did you ever go into the main house for meals?
No.
Did you ever walk around the property?
I think in that whole period from when I returned, from the 21st on, I'm being generous if I may, my best estimate, if I say twice.
Twice, what?
I walked out into Neverland. And that's my best, and we're talking about the period from the 21st on.
Were you spending time with your sons during that 4-day period?
No.
On the 25th, where did you go?
On the 25th?
Yes. The 25th of February.
Okay, the 25th of February, went to my son's doctor's appointment. Then from there, I went to Jamie's, and then from there the hotel.
All right, let's talk about the first 2 that you mentioned.
Okay.
There was an appointment you had, I assume with Gavin, is that right?
Yes, I did. And Vinny was there.
And Vinny went with you?
And the people that were following us.
And another vehicle behind you?
Yes.
And did you go with your other 2 children?
All 3 of my kids.
All of your kids went?
Yes.
The doctor's appointment was where?
In Kaiser. That was his cancer specialist, his oncologist.
And did they make another appointment for him or for testing at that time?
Yes, they did.
What was that appointment?
That was. I don't know what the correct medical term is, but Gavin has to go. Yes, he is a healthy boy, but he's got a lot of medical issues, and they have to watch out for, and so I don't know what this one is called. I don't know whether it's called a CT scan, ultrasound. The main purpose of that was to check his kidney, because there's a constant concern that Gavin could possibly lose his kidney.
Is this a concern that exists today?
It still exists today.
All right. Now, he had an appointment with the doctor. So he actually visited with the doctor on the 25th?
Yes.
During that visit, where did Vinny go?
Oh, Vinny was right there.
What is right there?
With us, with me, the whole entire time with us. And usually our doctor visits, me and the kids are always like a group, you know.
Alright.
Because when I go to the doctor's appointments, yes, Sergeant Mommy. But I'm always like this, weak in my knees, because I never know what is going to happen. I have to have, after the visit. So prior to the visit, I am holding my breath.
Did Gavin actually have an examination with the doctor?
Yes.
I assume that was separate from where Vinny was.
Yes.
Were you present during?
No, Vinny was right there. Vinny had expressed to me that there was something they could listen to me.
I don't understand what right there means.
Right there. Right outside the doctor's room.
Is that where you were?
Yes.
So he was with you?
And he was with the kids.
Alright. And the kids were there, too?
Yes.
Is this a waiting room of some kind?
No, it isn't. It's actually the hallway outside the doctor's room.
When you left the doctor's office on the 25th, did you have an appointment to return to the doctor at some time in the future?
Yes.
Was that for an examination or a test?
No, that was a test. Purely a test. No doctor visit whatsoever.
And what day was that?
March 10th.
What was the test?
I don't know. Like I told you, Mr. Zonen, I don't know whether it was one of those CT scans or ultrasound. The main purpose of that test was to check on his kidney.
Alright. Was that the day that you were supposed to turn in a sample of a collection of his urine?
Yes.
Now, let's go back to this, again.
A 24-hour collection.
A 24-hour collection. We're going to cover this in just a moment. Let's go back to the 25th.
Okay.
You said that you had a doctor's appointment with all of you, and then you went to, you said, the Laugh Factory?
Yes, I did.
What was your reason for going to the Laugh Factory?
Okay, we were already on Sunset Boulevard. And the Laugh Factory is not that far from Kaiser, so I'm trying, all along through this period. I'm trying to reach people to help me, to let them know the best that I knew at that time, because it kept evolving into more and more escalation.
Objection. Non-responsive.
Okay, that's my answer, though.
Just a moment, please.
Yes.
I think it was non-responsive.
I think it was. Now, you were going to go to the Laugh Factory. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Were you expecting to meet somebody at the Laugh Factory?
Yes.
Who were you expecting to meet at the Laugh Factory?
I was expecting to meet just Jamie. And I think that Jamie on his own called Mr. Dickerman.
Did you know who Mr. Dickerman was prior to that day?
Yes.
And how did you know who Mr. Dickerman was?
Because Jamie had told me that Mr. Dickerman could possibly maybe help put a stop to Gavin's being ridiculed and called gay, and all these things.
Do you mean the television show?
Yes, because they were making no effort.
Did you understand Mr. Dickerman to be an attorney?
Yes, I did.
Did you understand him to be Jamie's attorney, Jamie Masadas?
Yes, I did.
Did you tell Vinny in advance that you were going to go visit with a lawyer?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
Because there was consequences for going out of their plan.
Okay. When you arrived at the Laugh Factory, what did you tell Vinny was the purpose of going to the Laugh Factory?
Just visit Jamie.
Did you tell him who Jamie was?
Yeah, I had told him Jamie's a good friend, and that's about it. And so the second I went in there, in 2 minutes I had to leave.
Alright, you went in there. Did you go in with any of your children?
I think it was one of them. He had 2 of them stay with him. And then now Frank's on the phone going crazy because I'm talking to Jamie, so...
Hold on a second. You're inside the Laugh Factory right now?
Yes.
How do you know Frank's on the phone with anybody?
Because Davellin came in running and said, "Mommy, Frank's on the phone, and he's mad and he's going crazy."
Alright, how long were you inside talking to Jamie at that time?
My gosh, it was like, not that long. Not that long.
What is not that long? 5 minutes? 10 minutes? 20 minutes? Give us a sense of it.
My best estimate, less than maybe 10 minutes.
Less than 10 minutes?
Yes.
Alright.
And that's my best estimate.
Where did you go after that? This is the 25th. Where did you go after that?
Then Vinny had told me that. Do you just want me to tell, not what happened prior?
Yes. Just where did you go after you left the Laugh Factory?
The motel.
The motel in Calabasas?
Yes. Or hotel, the Country Inn.
How many days did you stay in Calabasas?
The 25th through the 2nd of March.
That's a 28-day month, February.
Yes.
So you were there 5 days?
Yes.
25th, 26th, 20.
And I didn't know I was going to stay there.
Did they tell you why you were there as opposed to going back to Neverland?
Yes, Vinny had said that the killers had arrived at Neverland, so we weren't going to be able to go back. We had absolutely no kind of piece of luggage with us. Nothing. That was a complete surprise.
So.
Yes.
Where did Vinny say you were going after the Calabasas hotel?
After?
Yes.
Not during?
Well, while you were at Calabasas at that hotel, Vinny told you that it was not safe to go back to Neverland?
That's right.
Alright. Did he tell you where you were going to go?
We were going to a motel.
And after the motel?
After. Now, what are you talking? During?
You said you were going to go to a motel. You were in a motel.
Yeah, that's it.
Did he tell you you were going? How long did he tell you you were going to have to stay at that motel?
No, he didn't. It was always one day. One day. Every day everything changed.
You had no other clothing with you?
No.
All your clothing?
No clothing.
Was at Neverland?
Was at Neverland.
At some.
Every piece of clothing was in Neverland that I had with me.
At some point in time did you go shopping?
Yes.
Where did you go shopping?
And this is, again, I had told them this is to replace. Because I wouldn't accept anything from them. It was only in replacement. They said it was not safe to return. So they were going to replace the children's items, and that's how they tricked us.
Alright. Ultimately, how long did you stay at that hotel at Calabasas?
From February 25th to March 2nd.
And during that time, on how many of those days did you go shopping for clothing?
One day.
Was there any discussion during that 5-day period of time as to when you were going to Brazil?
Yes, it was. We were going to Brazil. That's it.
Did they give you a day? Did they say in a week? In a month? Did they say when?
No, the second they get them. The second we're going to go.
The second they get what?
The second they get all of this covered.
The documentation that they needed?
Yes,
Did you believe at that time that you were actually going to go to Brazil?
Yes. And this is the period when I called Wheezy, Louise Palanker.
You called her from the hotel in Calabasas?
No, I didn't. I don't know where I was, but I called her during this period. That I can remember clear.
Alright. Who was at the hotel during this 5-day period, other than you and your 3 children?
Frank, Vinny, Johnny, another guy that I never saw that always would stand outside my window. And then these other people that I never came to find out who they were.
How many other people are we talking about?
Like I said, sometimes in the car there was 1, sometimes there was 2, and sometimes there was 3.
Were they there all the time?
Yes.
Or one of them all the time?
Yes. Oh, there was. Nobody left my side at all.
Were Frank and Vinny with you the entire time?
No. It was these people that were all the time.
Somebody named Johnny, you just mentioned.
Yes.
Alright. What does he look like?
He's big.
I'm sorry, I asked you about Johnny.
He's big.
Big?
Yes.
What color hair does he have?
It's a light color.
Was he there the entire time?
Yes, the entire time.
And day and night?
Day and night.
Was there if you walked out of your door, did you always see somebody there?
Yes, absolutely. outside my door, and outside my window, and wherever we went.
If I could approach the witness, Your Honor.
Yes.
Showing you number 26, please. Would you tell us who this is?
This is Johnny.
That's Johnny?
Yes.
During this period of time, did you have telephone calls with anybody else?
Me?
Yes.
But my phone calls were being monitored and listened to.
Somebody told you that?
Yes.
Who?
Frank and Vinny.
Did you believe that to be true?
Yes, I did believe them.
Notwithstanding that belief, did you make phone calls from the hotel?
Yes, I did. What I did, I tried to drop clues to every person. I figured by all. This was all going to be resolved by God's miracles, and I figured one day. There will be one day that all these people could give clues as to when me and my children would have disappeared. Clues, and this way this puzzle would have been put together.
Who did you call during that period of time when you were at the hotel?
I called my mom, but I tried to whisper to her in Spanish, and she said, "¿Qué?" And.
Your mom's a little hard of hearing, isn't she?
Yes, so that didn't help me.
Alright. Did you tell your mother you were going to Brazil?
No, I don't think so.
She didn't know?
No.
Who else did you call?
But Asha did.
You called Asha during this period of time?
Yes. I sneaked it in there.
You called her from where?
From the hotel.
Okay. And you say you sneaked it in. What does that mean?
Yes. I was letting her. I was talking and kind of dropping people clues. Oh, just kind of making.
Hold on a second. The question was, how did you sneak a call in? What does that mean?
Okay, no, all my conversations were being monitored and listened to, all of them. What I'm trying to say is, I sneaked it in a way where I said it to her, hoping that nobody had listened in on what I had told her.
Who else did you call besides Asha, your mom and Louise?
Asha, my mom, Louise, but I didn't call Louise from the hotel. I don't remember where I called her from.
Okay.
I think it was one of my cousins. My mom.
Did you call Jay during that period of time?
Yes, I called Jay. I hadn't called him for days.
And you did call him from that hotel?
Yes.
Alright. Did you call the police during that time?
No.
Why not?
Because my calls are being monitored, they were being listened to, my parents are in danger, Jay's in danger, and who could possibly believe this?
What do you mean by, who could possibly believe it? What was your concern in that regard?
That nobody would believe me. And that's because Frank said nobody would believe me.
Did you, in your conversation with Jay from the hotel, tell him what was going on?
No.
Did you tell him you were going to Brazil?
I told him the same way I tried to talk to Asha. Everything was always broken. It was never complete. So in the midst of a regular conversation, I'd throw something in, hoping that it hadn't been heard, and yet that part could stick in somebody's mind, and hopefully one of these days this puzzle could be put together. I tried.
After 5 days there, where did you go?
Back to Neverland.
So this is now on the 2nd of March, is that right?
Yes.
And how long did you stay at Neverland from the 2nd of March?
Till March 10th.
During that 8-day period of time, where did you stay?
Like I told you, Mr. Zonen, from the 21st on, when I was at Neverland, I just stood in the room. That's it. And that was per their order.
Was there somebody around?
Yes. Either Frank or Vinny, or both. But this guy Joe, he was really scary. You know what's more scary? When you're not spoken to and you're just watched. That was really scary.
Do you know Joe's name?
I don't know his last name, but he is extremely loyal to him, to Mr. Jackson.
What does he look like, Joe?
He is tall, kind of balding, a little bit of hair you can see.
Do you mean a shaved head?
Yes.
Do you know his last name?
I don't know his last name.
Did you ever hear it before?
No. Always, the last names I would always find out by accident. They never told me their last names. Only when I would overhear them.
What was it about Joe's behavior that frightened you?
That this particular specific time, for example, they would stand right outside my window, and Frank and Vinny would talk to him, and then they'd turn around. Joe would go like this, indicating, and he'd go back and like this, indicating, and just stand there.
Was Chris Carter there during that time?
Chris Carter. I don't know. I stood there inside the room.
Was Jesus there during that time?
Yes. And whenever Jesus would, whatever, come into my room, I'd go. You know, right there in my room I'd try talk to him, and he would tell me, I can't help you.
Where were your boys during this time, from the 2nd to the 10th?
From the 2nd to the 10th, they were with Michael. This time I did see him.
Could you tell if he was there the entire time, from the 2nd?
Oh, yes.
Who are we talking about now?
Yes, because I'd see him. They're running around with my kids like crazy nuts, you know.
Alright, wait. You said him. Who is him?
Mr. Jackson.
Alright. And they were running with him. Who are they?
My boys.
Like nuts, explain that to me. What does that mean?
Yeah, you know, I could see through my window at a distance. I know they're my kids, but they're this little. When you see someone really far, they're about this little, and I see him this much bigger. It's clearly them riding around in a go-kart and, goodness gracious.
Was there something about your boys' behavior at that time that was alarming you?
Objection. Leading.
No guidelines.
Just a minute. Overruled. You may answer.
No guidelines.
What does that mean, no guidelines?
There's no guidelines. That's it. I've lost my kids.
Did you have any contact with them during this period of time?
No.
And, no guidelines. How were they actually behaving? Tell us how they were behaving at that time.
Doing everything they wanted with Mr. Jackson.
All day long?
All day long, all night long.
Where were they staying at night?
With Mr. Jackson.
Alright. Did you ever go into Mr. Jackson's residence at night?
No.
Were you able to go into his residence?
No. Like I told you, Mr. Zonen, from the period of the 21st on, no. I'd be generous if I say, as my best estimate, 2 times.
Did you tell the social workers from the Department of Child and Family Services, did you tell them that you would check on your children inside the house throughout the night?
With the DCFS meeting, if you take a smaller version of the video that we did on that same day, if you make it smaller, that's what was discussed.
Right. But did you, in fact, tell them that?
I could have.
Did you know where your children?
And then but don't forget about the other additional tape recording thing that Asaf had left there.
Okay. Did you know where the boys were sleeping inside the house?
No. At that time. Now I know.
At the time, where do you believe that they were sleeping?
I believed that the children stayed with children. That's what I believed.
Do you mean his own children?
Well, with other children, because, just children. That's what I believed.
Did you ever ask Gavin or Star where exactly in the house they were sleeping during that time?
At that time, no.
Did you ever have any conversations with Michael Jackson during that period of time from the 2nd of March until the 10th of March?
No. 0. They were having too much fun.
Did you have any conversations with either Vinny or Frank during that period of time?
Oh, God. A lot of them.
And?
I didn't have conversations. They were coming at me.
And what types of things were they telling you at that time?
And just following their orders. Oh, this is one of the things when they were trying to make me sign that waiver.
That waiver.
And I said, no, I'm sorry, but my signing days are over.
Were your children in school during this period of time that they were at Neverland?
No school.
Were they getting any private instruction while they were at Neverland?
No.
No. Did you complain about that to anybody?
I brought it to Mr. Jackson's attention.
And to whose attention?
To Mr. Jackson, on that first, prior to that meeting with Jesus.
During the initial stay?
Yes, the initial.
Early in February?
Yes.
What did Mr. Jackson say to you about your children getting tutoring or schooling?
That Ronald and Dieter would fix everything.
Now, during this subsequent stay from the 2nd to the 10th of March of 2003, did you complain about them not getting any schooling during that time?
No. My complaining, my speaking days were over, because the second I would say something, The
second you would say something, somebody would do something?
Yes. Frank would holler at me.
Were you aware that there was a private school located near Neverland?
No.
Did you ever ask them to send the children to a private school?
No.
At some point in time did your children visit a dentist while they were at Neverland?
Yes.
For what purpose?
Remember how I told you I kept trying to do things, Mr. Zonen, about ways of getting out of there? And so I had told them that if I didn't get the orthodontist's teeth braces removed, that the social workers were going to call the police. And originally, Ronald and Dieter, way when the Germans were involved, they had said that it was bad PR for the police to get involved for Mr. Jackson. So I used that, and I told them that they were going, if I didn't get the braces removed, that they were going to call the social workers.
All right.
So I used that, because what I was trying to do was go to my orthodontist, so this way it was someone I knew that could possibly believe me.
All right. Now, whose idea was it to go to a different orthodontist?
Their idea.
And did you, in fact, go to a different orthodontist?
Yes. And get this. After the orthodontist was closed, no other patient was there. It was after hours, and with that scary guy Joe, and being put on notice that I was being listened and monitored. So again, the mother, failed again.
All right. Now, did they take off the braces at that time?
Yes, they took off the braces.
Were they, in fact, ready to have their braces removed?
They were not ready to take off the braces. My children were supposed to have. I think one of them was. 2 years of orthodontistry. And the other one had. Required orthodontic care. And I think it was about 3 years. And so the kids only had, at that period. I think they only had them on for. I think they only had them on at a period of 6 months at that time. And that's my best estimates. So they weren't supposed to be taken off.
Why didn't you simply change your mind about it and say, no, we won't take them off?
Then they would have known then that I'm trying to escape. Because every time I tried to leave, there was huge consequences.
Did you have a talk with anybody at Neverland about moving out of your apartment on Soto Street?
It was an evolvement of different things. First evolvement was when, because the killers had gone to my apartment, I had to move out and different things. But this only came after they found out that I had in my home Michael's letter, a rabbit that he had given my son, which he wanted him to call him, Michael, just different pictures. So my apartment was meaningless to them until they found out that Michael's things were there.
Objection. Non-responsive. Move to strike.
That's my whole answer.
Just a moment. Just a moment. It's sustained.
Let's back up a couple notches if we can.
Okay.
The first conversation that you had about moving out of the apartment on Soto Street was with whom? Just tell me the name.
With Ronald and Dieter.
That was with Ronald and Dieter?
Yes. Way back.
So that was way back?
Yes.
And did they talk to you at that time about moving out of the apartment?
Yes.
At some point in time, did you tell somebody that in your possessions at that apartment?
Yes.
Were letters from Michael Jackson?
Yes.
Objection. Leading.
Overruled.
That answer was, yes.
Yes.
With whom did you have that conversation?
With Ronald and Dieter.
Now, in fact, where were those letters?
In my apartment.
And where in your apartment were they?
Okay, they were in different places. But one specific place that I remember is, I had a clay pot and it was Gerber-a daisies, artificial Gerber-a daisies. They weren't real, So when you lift it up, it's empty, because the artificial flowers do not belong to that pot. You can easily lift it up and out. And I had placed them there. And the reason that I had placed them there is because David is very sneaky. He does things, so I didn't want David to get his hands on them.
The letters were from Michael Jackson to whom?
To Gavin. Purely to Gavin.
Had you read those letters?
Who?
You.
Me? Yes. Yes.
Why did you keep them at all, those letters?
Because Michael had sent them, and they said, I love you, to Gavin, and, love you, Applehead, and, doo-doo head. I just kept them, you know, along with all these other things that I had ever received from other people.
You had other letters there as well?
Yeah, from other people, too.
Now, did you tell either Dieter or Ronald where those letters were?
No, I didn't. I just said they were in my apartment.
Did you tell them that anything else was in your apartment that had come from Neverland or from Michael Jackson?
Yeah, pictures. And then the rabbit. It was a little pretend rabbit, not a real rabbit.
Alright, a rabbit from Neverland?
Yeah, it was just a rabbit that came in a gift basket.
Where was that kept?
That was out in the open.
Now, you said Ronald and Dieter talked to you about moving out of the apartment?
Yes.
At some point did either Frank or Vinny talk with you about moving out of the apartment?
Oh, yes.
Who was the first, between the two of them, to the best of your recollection?
Frank, on the phone, telling me it was so dangerous.
At some point in time did you move out of the apartment?
Yes, I did.
Who did you tell that you were willing to move out?
I didn't tell them that. That yes, for sure. That I would think about it.
Who is it that you told that to?
To Frank. But it wasn't a, yes. I would think about it.
Were you ultimately moved out of that apartment?
Yes. And this time I had said, no. I thought about it, and then it was a, no.
Do you recall if you signed anything that reflected your willingness to move out of that apartment?
I didn't sign a thing.
Did you have a conversation with anybody about moving out?
Yeah, Frank and Vinny. And then Ronald, Dieter in the beginning.
Alright. Now, was there any rent that was owed on that apartment at that time?
That's another thing that they had found out. It had slipped out.
Hold on just 1 second.
Okay.
The question was there any money that was owed on that apartment?
At that current time, it was, no.
How long had you lived in that apartment?
5 years.
Was there any point in time during that 5-year period where you did not pay rent?
Yes.
And when was that?
That was when Gavin was ill.
And for how many months was that?
That was 2 months.
And what did the landlord say about that?
One month he gave us. And the second one was owed to him, and he had told us to pay it when we can, and it's okay.
Alright. 1 month was simply gratis. It was given to you.
Yes.
For free?
Yes.
And the second month you owed?
Yes.
How much money was? What was the rent for that apartment?
My apartment rent was $425. But I was current to the point that, since 2000. That was since 2000.
Alright, so at the time that you were at Neverland for this period between the 2nd and the 10th.
Was already 2003. And I was still current on my month, sick, every month.
How about that 1 month that you were going to pay back at a later time? Was that ever paid back?
No, never.
So there was still a...
Yeah, it's something that I knew.
There was still $400+ that...
No, it was 2 months that weren't paid. But he said one was okay, and one was, but it was 2.
Well, tell me, what was the amount that was owed at?
$850 from the year 2000. Nothing current. My rent was paid current.
Alright, $850 would reflect 2 months, is that right?
Yes.
And that was?
Of the year 2000.
Didn't you say that one of those months was forgiven?
Yeah, that's what he said. But I still didn't, you know.
It was either 425, 1 month, or 850 for 2 months.
It was for 2 months, but he had voluntarily said that 1 month is okay.
All right.
But.
Did you believe you owed 850?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, I did.
Do you know if somebody paid off the balance of the rent that was owed?
Yes.
Do you know who that was?
I came to find out. It had slipped out of Vinny that they didn't want no one to be able to miss me or the kids, or start raising questions as to where the kids were. And usually because of, this is what Vinny said, that they would possibly start looking for me because I hadn't paid my rent.
Do you know if somebody paid off that balance?
Yes, I became aware of that.
Do you know who it was that paid it off?
No, I don't. That part one don't know.
It wasn't you?
No.
Counsel, take a break.